Siksastakam. We recite these prayers every morning, so I know you're all familiar with them, but usually we recite them in Sanskrit, and often the translation and the meaning of each of the verses is not appreciated. Anyway, these prayers are brought up in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Adi Lila, and it's the very last chapter. So it's the very end of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where the Siksastakam prayers are introduced to us. Lord Chaitanya actually never left any books. He instructed his followers to present. Of course, 500 years ago, it was all on palm leaves. It was not a very easy task, but Rupa and Sanatan and certainly others, they did write. Jiva Goswami, for example, wrote extensively, and they wrote on palm leaves. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never actually wrote the Siksastakam prayers, but he did speak them, he uttered them. Mahaprabhu was in his ecstasies, in his mood of separation from Krishna, he would recite these different verses from time to time. And these verses were recorded by his devotees, particularly Lord Chaitanya was intimately connected with Swarupa Damodar Maharaj and Ramananda Rai. They were his two most intimate associates. But many others, Govinda was there also, his servant. And then in Jagannath Puri there was also Maharaj Prataparudra, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and many different people would come and visit. Haridas Thakur would reside there, and you can read, for example, Harinam Chintamani, where there's a discussion between Lord Chaitanya and Haridas about the chanting of the holy names. Anyway, here in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we're told what happened was, in great jubilation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Swarupa Damodar and Ramananda Rai, know from me that chanting the holy names is the most feasible means of salvation in this age of Kali." And then they go on to quote the famous verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes the Lord's incarnation in the Kali Yuga, which is taken from the 11th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. Karabhajana Muni is speaking to Maharaj Nimi. Maharaj Nimi had asked about the Lord's incarnations in each age. And when he came to the Kali Yuga, then he spoke this verse, Krishna Varnam Kavish Akrishnam Sangopangusta Parshadam Yagnaye Sankirtan Praye Yajanti Sumedasaha. And he mentions intelligent people. So try to understand, the chanting of the holy names is meant for intelligent people, and they will perform congregational chanting to worship the Lord by singing the name of Krishna. And then Lord Krishna is described that his complexion is not blackish. He is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, confidential companions. So from 11th canto, 5th chapter, like this, Lord Chaitanya's advent was described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So then, the next verse goes on to describe about chanting of the holy name and the effect of chanting the holy name. We can be freed from all undesirable habits, the means of awakening all good fortune and initiating the flow of waves of love for Krishna. And then, text 12 is the first verse of the Siksastakam. Siksastakam meaning 8 verses, and Shiksha, instructions. So 8 instructions on the chanting of the holy name. 8 verses, and they cover the full range of Krishna consciousness. The first 5 verses are describing the sadhana bhakti according to rules and regulations. And then text 6 and 7 we come to bhava bhakti, devotional service in ecstasy. And then the final verse, text number 8, describes prema bhakti, love of God, the goal of life. Mahaprabhu's prem punarto mahan, the goal of life is to develop love for Krishna. So this is, the progression is given here within the Siksastakam, within these 8 verses. You will see how they progress. So the first verse describes the different benefits of chanting the holy name. And particularly, we like to quote the final statement in the first verse, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories, let there be all glories to the Shri Krishna Sankirtan. And of course, one of the aims of our Krishna consciousness movement is to propagate the Sankirtan movement. Lord Chaitanya had predicted the holy name would be chanted in every town and village around the world. So, we want to help to fulfill that prophecy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And people used to say, before Srila Prabhupada went to the West, people had heard this quote by Lord Chaitanya, and they thought, oh, it's just a eulogy, it's just a nice thinking, but it will never happen. Nobody ever thought that it could actually happen, that the holy name would spread all over the world. But Srila Prabhupada was convinced that it could be distributed. He had the mood, just as Bhaktivinoda Thakur had predicted, how people of all different races would come together and chant the holy name. So Prabhupada fulfilled this Sankirtan prophecy, taking the name everywhere. In the beginning of our Krishna consciousness movement, you know, of course, you were not so fortunate to be in Krishna consciousness at that time. But I had the good opportunity somehow that I came to the Krishna consciousness movement in 1971. The movement was very early, it was very new, and the movement was known for Sankirtan. We were seen every day around the world, not just in a few places, but cities all over USA. Every day people would be seeing the devotees. Every day they would see Sankirtan parties. Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, London, Paris, everywhere. The devotees were seen regularly, and they were known for Sankirtan. Somehow, you know, some parts of the world it goes on regularly. Sankirtan goes on. Like if you go to Moscow, nowadays in Moscow, they have about 15 different Sankirtan parties go out every day. They're so active in Sankirtan. They go out. Some of them, of course, even come to different parts of the world. They have people. I was in Taiwan, and a whole party, about 20 or more Russians came there, and they stayed there for a week doing Sankirtan. They went to Hong Kong. They go different parts of the world performing Sankirtan. They're so eager to propagate the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In London, we have devotees go out every day on Sankirtan. In fact, it happened, they were doing a survey in London, and they asked people, when you think of the sights in London, what do you think about? And some people will say, oh, the Hare Krishnas. We see them every day, that they're always there. We think they're one of the sights of London. And so this is the devotees, that they're so dedicated to Sankirtan that they go out there every day to do Harinam. I don't know, did the Namaruchi come? Maybe you never heard of them here in Malaysia. But there's a group of devotees. Mahavishnu Swami is one of the members, and the other members are a bit younger than him, and quite a bit younger, and they travel around the world and do Sankirtan, and they're very well received. I don't know, they never come to Malaysia. I don't know why, but it's something we need to think about, that we do have a duty as devotees to do Sankirtan. Now, Sankirtan, of course, it's not only Harinam Sankirtan, there's also book distribution, that also goes on. But we have become a little slackened, we have gone a little bit off from these things. And we really need to think about it. We really need to make some effort to bring ourselves back into that mood of Mahaprabhu. Because 500 years ago, Mahaprabhu was staying in Jagannath Puri, and he was doing Sankirtan every day. And even before that, before sannyas, after his initiation from Ishwara Puri, he came back to Navadvip, and there was the nocturnal kirtans in the Srivas Angam. But then Mahaprabhu took sannyas, and then he traveled, and everywhere he went, he was chanting the holy name. And even he went to places like Benares, which is a place full of Mayavadis and Buddhists. But Mahaprabhu was there, and he would go through the streets chanting the holy name and dancing. Sometimes he would just be on his own, but he would be chanting and dancing. And he attracted people just by singing beautiful songs about Krishna. So we have to understand, part of our duty as devotees is to take part in this congregational chanting of the holy name. And now it's nice you do Kirtan Mela, but the problem is that's in the temple. You're sitting in your own home, you're sitting in your home ground doing Kirtan. We have to go out to the public. We have to go out on the streets, and we have to distribute the holy name everywhere. That is the real meaning of Sankirtan. And some of you, even though you're devoted, probably never even been on Sankirtan. It's just surprising, it's just amazing. But you want to progress in Krishna consciousness, and this is one of the things you have to do. You have to join the Sankirtan party. You have to go out and check, Maybe, you think, maybe people will see me. I don't want people to see me, Yeah, some people think like that, you know. Oh, I don't want people to see me dancing in the streets. And okay, then go some other place and do Sankirtan. You know, go to Singapore. No, Singapore. You can't go to Singapore. Forget that. No, you get locked up, right? But you can go to Thailand. 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 Thailand, very near Malaysia, right? So, and Namaruchi, they went to Vietnam for a few days. They were doing Sankirtan there in Ho Chi Minh City, which is not very far away. So there are places, you know, and even maybe people know you here in Penang. You can go down to Johor, or you can go to KL or somewhere, you know. Go somewhere where people don't know you so well. But we do need to get the taste. We need to get the experience of Harinam Sankirtan. We do need to go out there and do this chanting. This is very important for us. And it's described here in this verse, the effect of the chanting, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that it cleanses the mirror of the mind. And so that is the power of Sankirtan. Because we are in the bodily conception of life. We're very attached to our body, the material condition. And Sankirtan will bring us to the transcendental platform. We can forget all of these things, forget about the material condition, and come to the transcendental platform. Understanding, I'm a servant of Krishna. So this Sankirtan, very, very powerful for all of us. And we do need to have more Sankirtan going on here in this country, Malaysia. This movement was began by Sankirtan. When the devotees first came here in Malaysia, they were doing Sankirtan. And then it gradually, you know, because people move on, the ashrams, and they become a little older and things. And then we get a congregation, and the congregation are providing donation. We don't need to worry so much about how to get money for the congregations there, get them to give money, you know. And then what happens is we stop doing Sankirtan, and we just become comfortable in the temple. But Prabhupada said, temples are not a place for just eating and sleeping. They're a base for the army to go out and fight Maya. We're meant to all go out, and we go out as an army, the Sankirtan army. Of course, we have Rati Yatras, right? How many Rati Yatras we have here in Malaysia every year? Yes, right, more than 30 Rati Yatras a year. So that's practically the only time we see Harinam. There's, you know, unless some rare times you may organize a palanquin or something like that. You know, they do protests. One of the protests, a heavy criticism about our movement comes from the Pandits in Jagannath Puri. And they argue that we are celebrating Rati Yatra at the wrong time. Because according to the scriptures, there's a particular day in the year when they have Rati Yatra. And you're meant to have Rati Yatra on that day. So at least in India, they have like that. In India, they have Rati Yatra on that particular day, every temple in India. Of course, we're outside India, and it's a bit difficult, many cities, to do Rati Yatra, to try to do it on an ordinary working day. Certainly, I know in Bangkok, we couldn't do a Rati Yatra any other day. It'd be very difficult to do it except on a Sunday, because there's the traffic, the roads, the conditions, and also everybody working to get people free. But anyway, the pundits in Puri, they get very angry, and at some point even they burned an effigy of Srila Prabhupada to express their disgust of our movement, that we're not following Shastra. Anyway, so Sankirtan, the Bhakti Yatra is one day a year, but Sankirtan can be every day of the year. Anytime, any day you can go out on Harinam Sankirtan. And we do need to encourage the Sankirtan. This is how we spread the Krishna consciousness movement, by being out there, letting people see us. What happened, the one boy, Bhakta Avatar, he was a disciple of Lokanath Swami. He came here one time. He's an American devotee, and he's well known. He was Jai Radha Krishna Kanaya Nittai Gaurangarai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Anyway, this one devotee came from America. He came here, and he's very fond of Sankirtan. He always goes on Harinam Sankirtan, and he's always dancing. His spiritual master told him, just keep dancing, keep dancing. So anyway, he came to Malaysia, and he was going out and he was there at Telakantan, and he was out there, and he said, oh, this is great, you know. There's not many people around, but still he was so happy to be out there doing Sankirtan. And people were saying, oh, where have you been? I've never seen you for so long. Where have you guys been? You know, this is what happens if we don't go out on Sankirtan. People think, oh, there's no more Hare Krishna anymore. The movement must have finished. They must have all given up. No, but we're still here. We're just sitting comfortably in our temples. But what we should be doing, we need to go out. We need to have Sankirtan. The preaching goes on. You know, how many people can actually come here to the temple? It's very few, very limited. But if we go out, then we can meet a lot of people. So we do want to encourage Sankirtan. And it's nice if some devotees can dedicate themselves to this activity of taking up Sankirtan, going out there and just chanting the holy name, giving the holy name. I know that was one of the main things which inspired George Harrison when he purchased the Bhaktivedanta Manor for the devotees. He was impressed by the dedication of the devotees. He would be going to his office at that time. They had the Apple office in London, and it was in the center of London, and he would be going there in the car, and he would see the devotees out there on the streets. And he thought, the weather's cold and windy, it's wet, not pleasant, but the devotees are out there every day chanting. So he was very impressed that the people are very dedicated, and he wanted to help. That's why he purchased Bhaktivedanta Manor. So these things happen, you know. We could never ever even think of purchasing a place like Bhaktivedanta Manor. But Krishna inspired him from the heart. Because of the Sankirtan, it was really the potency of the Sankirtan. And so Sankirtan, very important for us. How we cleanse the mirror of the mind. We go out there and distribute the holy name. Alright, so the first verse is very powerful, very important for us. Tells all the benefits of chanting the holy name. It's mentioned here. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, extinguishes the blazing fire of material life. Material life is like a blazing fire. It's not very pleasant. And we want to extinguish that blazing fire. So Sankirtan can do that. It puts out that blazing fire of material life. And then the verse goes on to describe about the waxing moon that spreads the white lotus of good fortune for all living entities. The life and soul of all education. Jiva Vadu Jivanam. Right, we want education. Malaysians spend so much money for education. It's a big business here. The real education, the life and soul of all education is there in the Sankirtan, in the chanting of the holy name. And then it goes on to describe, it gives a cooling effect and enables one to taste the full nectar at every step. So there is a lot of nectar in the holy name. And we want to taste the nectar. You can taste it much more easily when you go out to distribute the holy name, when you go out to give the name to others. The more we just try to keep the name to enjoy ourselves, the limited effect will be there. It won't be quite the same. But you give the name to others, you will get the greatest benefit. Alright, so Lord Chaitanya begins Siksastakam prayers like that. And then the second verse goes on, it describes that because there are different varieties of names, different people have different tastes for chanting. Great ocean of love. So Lord Chaitanya began to recite the second verse, by which we can forget all unhappiness and lamentation. Because there are different names, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, the Lord has given us many names, like Krishna, Govinda, and the potency is there in the different names. In Harinam Chintamani, Haridas Thakur describes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that there are primary names and secondary names of the Lord. Primary names are names by which Lord Krishna is described directly according to his pastimes, whereas the secondary names refer more to his potencies or activities, like names like Paramatma and Brahman and Creator. These kind of names are secondary names. But Krishna, Govinda, Rama, Madhava, these are primary names. So we like to approach the Lord through his different holy names. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Durdaiva midrishami hachani nanun ragaha. Durdaiva, I am very unfortunate. Why are we unfortunate? Because I have no taste for chanting the holy name. Or is that I commit offenses while chanting the holy name. And because I commit offenses, I don't get attachment for chanting. We want to develop the attachment, the taste for chanting, but we chant without proper attention. Inattention is the seed of all offenses in chanting. And inattention, it may be due to laziness, it may simply be due to distraction. Distraction, you know, you have your mobile phone. One hand's on the mobile phone and one hand's on the japa bag. Distraction. You know, you're trying to chant, but at the same time you're looking at your computer screen. So there's distraction. And laziness. Or another kind of distraction comes when just being inattentive, being lethargic. We think, oh, well, it doesn't really matter, it's not so important, anybody can do this, I can do this any time. And so we have that kind of attitude, then we never get the real attachment for the holy name. So Mahaprabhu is describing like this in the second verse of Siksastakam. We're very unfortunate. And then he goes on in the third verse, he talks about what kind of attitude we should have. It's an important verse, the third verse. That he says that the symptoms, how one should chant the Hare Krishna mantra to awaken very easily one's dormant love for Krishna. And here's the verse. Of course, this verse was mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj had said, put this verse on a thread and string it around your neck for constant remembrance. Very important. Trinada pi sunitena taror eva sahishnuna amanena manadena kirtaniya sada. Very, very important verse for us. We often have problems with our ego, our false ego, right? So here in this verse, we're told our ego we should think of ourselves as being lower than a straw in the street. It mentioned Trinada pi sunichena, being lower than the grass. So the significance of this is that our false ego is because we're thinking we're the body. We identify with our physical dimension. Right? I said to one lady, I said to one lady, your husband's very tall. He must be about 1'8", 1'8". Oh, she said, he's 1.83. Oh, she's so proud of her husband, so big, you know. Anyway, we're in that bodily conception of life. We identify with our size, our stature. We have to come to our spiritual dimension. And what is our spiritual dimension? 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. The size of the spirit soul, as described for us in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada purport. The soul, 100th of the tip of the hair. So our spiritual dimension is very, very small. But we're in the bodily conception of life. We have the false ego. That physical dimension puts us in the bodily concept of life. And this is not the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is telling us, be tolerant like the tree. Think of ourselves lower than the blade of grass. Very small, insignificant. So very important verse for us. And then amanina manadena, offering all respect to others and not being anxious to get any respect for ourselves. And when we have that mood, then kirtaniya sadahari. Then you can always chant the holy name. If you go to the temples like Mayapur, they have many Gaudiya Math temples, maybe Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace and so on, or Haridas Thakur's Samadhi and stuff. You'll see they always put Kirtaniya Sadahari. They write it usually in Bengali or something. If you can read Bengali, it's easier, you'll see it more. Anyway, Kirtaniya Sadahari means always chant the holy name. But in order to chant the holy name constantly, we have to develop these symptoms. We have to get rid of the false ego, come to the platform of pure ego, be more tolerant than the tree, and offer all respects to others. We want people to chant the holy name, we want them to take up Krishna consciousness. What is important is our own example. And the more we are willing to offer respect to others, then the easier it will be for people to accept us. We do want to have that kind of mood. In order to come to that condition, we have to offer all respects. We fall at their feet. My dear sir, you're so learned, you're so intelligent, you're such a noble person. Please take to this chanting of the holy name. Just understand the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? So that's the third verse. Chaitanya Charitamrita said, these are the symptoms of one who chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Although he is very exalted, he thinks himself lower than the grass on the ground. And like a tree, he tolerates everything in two ways. And then he goes on to describe how you cut down a tree, it doesn't protest, it's drying up, it continues to give fruit and flowers, it tolerates the heat and rain, it gives shelter to others. In the same way, the Vaishnava may be the very good devotee, but he is without false ego, and he gives all respect to others because he sees Krishna in the heart of everyone. If we chant the holy name, then certainly love for Krishna will awaken. So Lord Chaitanya was speaking in this way, and Krishna Das Kaviraj describes how it's the nature of a devotee, that the more they advance, the more they think they're fallen and unworthy and unqualified. And he thinks, actually, I don't have even a drop of love for Krishna. So if someone thinks they have love of Krishna, then they've got problems. But if we understand, if we're thinking ourselves, I'm not much of a devotee, I don't even have a drop of love for Krishna, that is a healthy thinking. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes on to give more symptoms about the nature of devotional service. You can see here the fourth verse. A devotee doesn't have material desires. He doesn't want material wealth or materialistic followers. He doesn't want a beautiful wife or fruitive activities. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. In other words, he's addressing Lord Krishna. This verse also points out that devotional service is superior to liberation, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, I don't want liberation, all I want, life after life. In other words, he's willing to take birth again and again. All he wants is devotional service, birth after birth. So bhakti is superior to mukti. And then he explains more his desire. Mahaprabhu again expressed his desire to be endowed with service to Krishna. That's the fifth verse. The fifth verse of Ai Nandatanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Babam Buddho Kripaya tava pada pankaja stita duli sadrisham vachindaya. Right? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praying that, O Krishna, O son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servant. But because of my own fruit of acts, I've fallen into this horrible ocean of nescience. Now please be causelessly merciful to me. Consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. So this is the mood of the devotee. Be merciful to me. Please engage me in your service. Natural humility and eagerness then awoke in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He prayed to Krishna to be able to chant the Mahamantra in ecstatic love. And that's this sixth verse. Nayanam Galada Shrudaraya Vadanam Gadgad Rudaya Gira Pulakaya Nichitam Babhukada Tava Namagrahin Bhavishyati. Right? Describing symptoms of bhava and other ecstatic love for Krishna. And he's praying, when will my eyes be purified by filling with tears as I chant your holy name? When will my voice falter, all the hairs in my body stand on end as I chant your holy name? This is the desire of a devotee. And then goes on to hear more. Mahaprabhu spoke like a crazy man. Verse number 7, again, more of bhava coming to prema. Yugayitam nimeshena chakshusha pravrishaitam shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahename. He's praying that a moment is appearing like many millions of years. One moment of time is appearing like so many years. So this is because of feeling separation from Krishna. So that moment of time it's so long, it's so painful. The tears are flowing from my, and I see the whole world is vacant, is void. We're not voidists, that's not our goal, but that's what's happening in separation from Krishna. Mahaprabhu, he doesn't want to, he's not an impersonalist. It's mentioned sunyayitam, appearing void. In Prabhupada's pranam mantra, nirvishesha shunyavadi paschatya deshata, getting rid of the impersonalism and voidism. Mahaprabhu said, I'm feeling like the whole world is void. So we don't want that. We want to see Krishna, but because of separation, because of feeling that intense desire to be with Krishna, he's feeling like the world is vacant. This is the pain of pure love of Krishna. Right? And then the final verse goes on, so wonderful. The final verse is said is the mood of Srimati Radharani. While Srimati Radharani was thinking in this way, the characteristics of natural love became manifest because of her pure heart. Ecstatic symptoms of envy, great eagerness, humility, zeal and supplication all became manifest at once. In that mood, the mind of Srimati Radharani was agitated, and therefore she spoke a verse of advanced devotion to her gopi friends. In the same spirit of ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited that verse. And as soon as he did so, he felt like Srimati Radharani. Right? So here's the verse. Aslishyava padaratam panastumam adarshana marmatam karotu va yatha tatava vidadati lampata matprananastastu. Do you feel in the mood of Srimati Radharani when you recite this verse? We should be, this is how we should be feeling, the separation from Krishna. Radharani is speaking, she's speaking to her gopi friends because she's heard news that Krishna's gone with some other woman. So she said, Lampata, alright? Yatata tava vididatu lampata. Lampata means a womanizer. So Lord Krishna, he likes to do these things. It's mentioned here, Lampata, a debauchee who mixes with other women. Right? What will you do if your husband mixes with other women? Divorce. Pay me the money. Give me the... Right? But Srimati Radharani, in her mood of love for Krishna, she's saying, well, if that is your happiness, and if my being unhappy makes you happy, then that is my happiness. Right? Did you ever get a wife like that? Not in this world, nowhere. It's only in the spiritual world you get a wife like Radharani. So, yeah, we want to develop that kind of mood. There's Lord Krishna is this guy. He's very cunning, obstinate debauchee with a propensity to cheat. He takes to the company of other women. He then indulges in loving affairs with them in front of me to give distress to my mind. Nevertheless, he is still the Lord of my life. This is Lord Krishna. So very wonderful, this mood of Srimati Radharani. And if Krishna, attracted by the beauty of some other women, wants to enjoy with her, but is unhappy because he cannot get her, I fall down at her feet, catch her hand and bring her to Krishna to engage her for his happiness. Can you imagine? No. This is the mood of love of Krishna. Anyway, there's a nice example is given here. I just wanted to finish here with this example which is given. It's taken from Aditya Purana, Markandeya Purana and Padma Purana, and it tells that the wife of a Brahmana suffering from leprosy manifested herself as the topmost of all chaste women by serving a prostitute to satisfy her husband. I'll explain it for you. Right? The Brahmana, this Brahmana was a sinful Brahmana, and he was suffering from leprosy because of his sins. So he was attracted to a very beautiful woman who was actually a prostitute, and he wanted to enjoy this prostitute. So this sinful Brahmana who had leprosy had a wife who was very chaste, and she wanted to serve her husband. So in order for her, she wanted that prostitute should come and satisfy her husband. And in order to do that, she went and she served that prostitute. And the prostitute lady was so surprised that, you know, you're giving me so much service, what do you want? And then she explained that well, my husband, you know, he wants to enjoy you, but we have no money, and he's also he's a leper, he has this terrible disease. So the prostitute agreed that, oh, all right, you want, you know, that you've served me, I should do it for you. You know. So just imagine the nature of that woman, right? The wife, that she was so chaste that when she brought that woman to the sinful man, her husband, who was a Brahmana, who had leprosy, his own wife brought the prostitute there for her husband to enjoy with that woman. So when the Brahmana saw how his wife was so chaste, he gave up all of his sinful intentions. He gave up. He thought, I'm so fortunate that my wife is so chaste that she's willing to do this for me, just so I can satisfy my sinful desires. So he gave up his sinful desires, and he understood how he was so fortunate to have such a chaste wife. But then the story goes on that he was coming home, and on his way home he touched the body of Markandeya Rishi. Now Markandeya Rishi is a powerful sage, and if a leper touches someone, it's very bad. You know, lepers, they're kept away from everyone. No one wants to touch them because you can get the disease, very contagious. So Markandeya Rishi, somehow the leper touched him, and Markandeya Rishi was so angry, he cursed